So this is like a multifaceted topic, and overcoming it, I think, is a multifaceted way to overcome it because
Mm,
you have the spiritual aspect, you have a physical, mental, and your story, Neville.
mm.
You've overcome this, and you're walking this healing journey. How did God and how did you um, overcome something like this?
Yeah. Um, well, I do want to point out first that when I got addicted to porn is different from when I was introduced from porn. It didn't happen at the same time. Um, I was introduced to porn maybe around the sixth grade level, and then I got addicted to it. I got addicted to it sometime in high school. I think is when it really kicked in, and then it wasn't until college that late college years that I my faith in God started to really grow at that particular time, and this was an obvious thing that I felt like the Holy Spirit was bringing to mind that was unhealthy for me, and I thought honestly I thought this whole time I was just gonna be the goal was just to stop watching porn. But little did I know that me going on that journey was going to reveal so many things about my life that I needed to work on. One of the things that was a big one was after I stopped looking at porn, I started to get depressed, like clinically depressed, and that's when I realized that I was having anxiety more than usual. An anxiety disorder. I didn't know that I even needed to address that side of it. All I know is at first I was at a church that was very passionate about um, people cleaning themselves up spiritually. We even had a deliverance ministry or freedom ministry at our church. And I remember it's something that they recommended all the members to go through just to spiritually clean out closets, from your past and everything. And this was one of the big topics that I brought up with the minister that was walking me through it. And they shared with me that there's actually specific demons assigned for lust, and that these demons were what were causing me to go towards porn. And I believe that. I believe that's 100% true, that there is unseen forces out there, specifically designed, principalities and powers specifically designed to promote this abuse of something so pure, And I remember I went through a freedom prayer and we prayed over everything. I looked forward to that day so much because I was like, dude, this is gonna be the day that I get free of porn, To my surprise, although I feel like that did something spiritually, to my surprise, I did have a little break from pornography, only to come back to it again. And that's when I started to pray, God, I don't know what to do at this point. I thought I did everything I was supposed to find freedom. But I'm telling you, if you ask God to help you out, He will help you out. And in a very short amount of time, there's just a church I was visiting just happened. I remember, I think it was like a couple nights before I prayed, God, I need some help. Show me what to do. I don't know what to do next. And a couple days later, a church that I was visiting had an announcement that their men's ministry was going to be going through this DVD series that addresses porn and masturbation. And I was like, coincidental timing, So I signed up for it. I was gung ho. I mean, it was a great series, the Conquer series. That's what it was called.
Yeah, we do that here at our church.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Men's ministry does.
Yeah. That thing changed my perspective. Like, that not only talked about the spiritual aspects, but it talked about the very practical aspects of trauma, what addiction surrounded by, how it all kind of works together. After I saw that, I felt like I had a better picture of the fight. And then I prayed, God, well, what do I do next? And then the topic of counseling kept starting to come up.
Wow.
Just from, in conversations with different people, like, just for whatever reason, that topic seemed to be a strong thing that was coming up frequently. So I was like, God, if you're telling me to go counseling, the church that I went to, they were very at the time, they thought that all you needed was biblical counseling, all you needed was prayer, and as much as you need those things, I needed something more. And I prayed, God, if you want me to go to counseling, help me find a good counselor, you know. And a friend of mine that I was really close to at the time, we were part of a men's group, and that came out of this Conquer series. And we were meeting weekly just to get together and talk about the struggle and support one another. And he mentioned that, hey, Neville, if you ever wanted to go to counseling, I know a guy. And it turned out that it was a pastor of a church that was professionally licensed as a counselor as well. And I had no idea what I was getting into with that one. But I was like, all right, God, well, I think you kind of lined this up. I'm going to go for it. And I remember I didn't know what I was supposed to say. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. It was such a taboo subject from church. It was such a taboo subject from just, telling family that I'm going to counseling. I was so scared to take that step. And it took years for me to understand what came out of it. But it turned out I had some trauma in my life that I had to deal with. I had to process some trauma in a healthy way. I had to talk about some things that I was carrying around that I just held on to. And it turned out that certain situations would trigger a flight or fight response that was getting me to go towards porn as my sense of peace and everything. And again, it was all a lie because, like you said, it doesn't actually fill you up. It doesn't deal with the problem. So that's a long way to answer. Like, I had to do a few things. I had to battle this spiritually. I had to battle this in a very practical manner with counseling. I had to go through years of counseling to be able to understand myself and look at myself, and even become conscious of when I am being anxious. And man, it's been such a journey, but like, I've been free of porn for about 10 years now. I think 2026 marks 10 years. And during that time, I'll be transparent that during some of the counseling, I was at like right in the middle of that 10-year gap, coming off of some antidepressants that were helping me with the depression that I was now experiencing because I wasn't doping up, with porn. And I did have one fall during that time when they were adjusting medicine. Apparently, I believe in prayer and medicine, and I think it's very helpful and it has its place. But it does take a really big toll on your nervous system when your body is trying to adjust to the medicine. Your brain is doing a lot, and I felt during that time. But with some of the ministers that were walking with me at the time, like, we talked about it, and we decided that was just kind of a random point that we weren't going to kind of count as that. But man, I was just thinking about it last week as I was kind of, thinking about what to talk about when we met, like 10 years, 2016 is when I started. Yeah. And if you asked me 10 years ago, like, I would have never thought it was possible.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's crazy, but yeah.
I love your vulnerability, and being able to share that, because I know that's a big step for someone to share and be that vulnerable, but it's going to help so many people. Because people sometimes will be so categorized in like, no, I'm only going to do this through mind control, right? And I'm going to try it through that. And then others will say, well, I'm just going to do it through accountability, or I'm just going to do it through spirituality. But God made all these things.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's a multifaceted approach, and I love that, for some people it might be like they come to church one day and they get convicted by the Holy Spirit and they surrender it, and boom, it's broken. We hear about alcoholics getting free in that way and drug addicts, but the majority of people go through a discipleship process.
Yeah.
And that discipleship process often looks like, getting your prayer life sorted, getting your accountability sorted with your Christian brothers, therapy, or what I like to call inner healing, even, where you're processing trauma of, hey, let's get to the root of when did this start and why is it a struggle, and a stronghold. And then medically, is there something that I'm missing biologically, like, things fail in our bodies all the time. A pancreas can stop producing insulin.
Mhm.
So now we need medicine to supplement that. Your brain is one of the most complex organs in your body, and it's an organ
Yeah.
that thinks, which is weird, but it's an organ. So if it's missing certain things, that's
Yeah.
not producing as adequately as it's designed to do. Sometimes under medical supervision, you might need a medical supplement, and hopefully we can pray and with medical care and supervision, like you did, wean off of that after a time.
Yeah.
But what you had said so eloquently is like you were doping up so much with porn that your brain had this gap
Yeah.
that was like, hey, let's medically help you walk through this season until your body readjusts to this new lifestyle.
Yep.
Right? Because it was a gateway drug that became a stronghold drug, right? And so,
Absolutely.
man, that's so great. I love your vulnerability.